Hey, and welcome back. It's me again, Paige, with Paige's Picks and Pans. Um, Last night I watched Nymphomaniac. It is rated R. It is 2 discs, 5 hours long. This is the director's cut, although this happens to be the censored version. Um, I had recently watched Melancholia, and I wasn't sure what to make of that film. And several people recommended to me that Nymphomaniac was maybe a more accessible film by Von Trier. And I would agree. It is long. It is a movie that contains a lot of graphic sexual content, a lot of violent content, and yet it is not really a film about sex so much as it is a film about obsession and what happens when you become so obsessed with um, the pursuit of something that you sort of forsake everything else. Um, it's it's told in a way. It's told in chapters, and right off the bat, you have to sort of suspend your disbelief as to why this situation even exists, but it does, and you get this um, rambling storytelling with interjections of semi-related stories that are not sexual, that are very much not sexual. Um, it's like the performances are really good. It's probably the first performance in a long time where I've seen Shia LaBeouf and have not wanted to slap the expression off of his face. Like, he actually puts in a very understated performance in this, and I applaud that. Um, Stellan Skarsgård is freaking amazing in this. I have always loved the work he has put out, and this is right up there as a good example of what he can do. Um, Even though it was 5 hours long, I watched it all in one stretch, and I didn't feel like I wasn't squirming around and looking at the clock and wondering when it would actually end. I really wanted to live in this world with these people, even though it's pretty messed up. Um, it's clearly unhealthy for a lot of the people in it, and it's not a feel good film, but it's fascinating. Um, there's there's this. I mean, you follow this human through their entire life of sexuality from childhood on up, and I mean, for that alone, it's rare, and it's uh, that that alone would probably earn it an R rating, because whenever you have a sexualized child, then yeah, it goes on the radar for pedophilia and all of that stuff. It's not fun. But that said, um, if you go in with an open mind and look at this as sort of a psychological, sociological kind of exploration of sexuality and hypersexuality, it's very eye-opening. Like, I think I need to watch it again, just not right now. It's it's definitely it's definitely got a lot to offer. The the way things wind together, and you start to see patterns. Um, I mean, people's lives are full of patterns and full of coincidences. And even when the main character gets called out on the coincidence being too unrealistic, it's like, well, nope, that's what happened. And you can believe me and listen to my story or not, and I can stop. And he chooses to just let her keep going. Um, And that's very realistic in and of itself. Like, if I am telling a story and someone interrupts me, I'm just as likely to stop as to try and justify it. It's like, oh, okay, I don't have to tell you this story. Take it or leave it. Um, I love stories that are about humanity, and this is very much at its core about humanity, and it's a part of humanity that we don't talk about often enough in healthy ways. And I'm not saying that this film is healthy, because a lot of it is not, but it's also it's refreshing to see it presented in the way that it is. Um, there's a couple of sequences that put a big smile on my face, and in particular, there's a sequence where they are talking about various different lovers being part of a chord. So, like when you hit three keys on a piano, and each of those keys individually has its own sound, but together they create something beautiful. And the idea that this woman had multiple lovers at this time in her life, and they each provided something a little different and created this beautiful situation. I just found that heartwarming. Um, yeah, so if you can stomach the violence with the sex, and if you are okay with full frontal nudity of both male and female presenting bodies, then yeah, watch this. Um, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. It's not, it's really good. It's a really well put together film. I'm annoyed that I found a censored version. I'm going to try and track down an uncensored version. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. And yeah, just all I can say is go in with an open mind. Yeah, and watch it. Yeah, so it's a pick. Pages, Picks, and Pans. Nymphomaniac. And yes, I know. The sign is written in mirror writing. This is not.